I knew making this demo would take a while, but nearly half a year? Damn. Now, you should already know the deal by now. I'm Nick Denoli, I'm the creator of Moussacre, blah blah blah. Let's cut the bullshit and get right to the interesting stuff. Two big events for Moussacre are coming real soon. The Steam Next Fest and the Kickstarter. For those who don't know, Steam Next Fest is a showcase for a bunch of video game demos, and there are 3 every year, but I chose to have Moussacre participate in the October one. Actually, Steam personally invited me to participate in the June Next Fest, but I turned it down because I needed more time to iron things out and add more content so that way the demo could be the best it could be in the October Next Fest. This is going to be a great opportunity for getting more eyes on Moussacre and building excitement for it, and I'm genuinely looking forward to it. But more importantly, the Kickstarter. Right after Next Fest ends, Moussacre's Kickstarter page will go live on October 22nd, 2024. Kickstarter is a crowdfunding platform for projects where the goal is to raise as much funds as possible. The more funds Moussacre receives, the better the game will be, and the sooner it'll release. You even get cool gifts based on how much you support the project. Hitting the funding goal is one thing, but it's really about getting as much support as possible. So if you want to be one of the first supporters of Moussacre, follow the Kickstarter page in the description to get notified right when it launches. Now, let's talk Demo 3. If you played the previous 2 demos, you'll recall that they each introduced a level. Demo 3 does too, but not the kind where you start from the beginning of the level and run all the way to the end. No. Instead, it's a boss battle against none other than Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, in the form of a cyborg, so now he's named Osborg. I added other additional content too, but we'll get there when we get there, so stick around. He's just floating towards me, menacingly. Before Osborg ever shot his first shot or yeeted his first haw, he was just a simple square floating towards the player at slow speeds. He has no hitbox, hurtbox, attacks, bitches, anything. This was to test the boss camera. Unlike the normal levels that just follow MouseTrap, boss fights will generally have the camera stay in between MouseTrap and the boss. This is so it's easier to see the boss's attack telegraphs, as well as just making the fights more cinematic. I also wanted to play with the camera zooming out as MouseTrap and the boss were further apart, but as you can tell by this absolute fucking disaster, it wasn't looking too good. I scrapped the idea. Our little friend can now apply for disability because he can no longer move. Granted, he also now has the newfound power of being hurt by attacks. Best part is you can hit these bosses pretty much whenever you want. No more waiting for arbitrary moments of vulnerability. Like with the levels, the faster you go, the faster you win. Now he's got a health bar. You can see it on the bottom right. The boss is also cosplaying his MouseTrap, but we know his lies. The boss being represented by MouseTrap is temporary. It'll change when I start making the actual art assets for the boss. As for more information on the health, every boss will have 24 health for every bar. All bosses have 3 bars of health, meaning they'll have a total of 72 health. All of your machete attacks do 1 damage, as does your gun. Your cannon deals 2, and your grappling hook deals 3. The cost of your sub-weapon equals its damage output, if that helps you remember. Sadly, nothing fun happens yet when you deplete the boss's health, unless you find game crashes interesting. I personally do, so let's meet up and have some tea. We can talk about all our favorite game crashes together. I hope our little square friend made good use of that disability pay because he's no longer eligible. He now delicately slides to the left and right randomly. It's just simple movement to use as a framework for all his other movement. Nothing else to really talk about here. Now he's jumping for joy. His movements are overall way more sporadic now. Obviously, timing and distance and whatnot will be tweaked as the boss develops. This is to show that maybe he's not so willing to just sit around and get his ass beaten anymore. Especially because he throws hands now. That's right, attacks. He only has 3 right now, and they're way too fast to reliably react to. But again, tweaks come later. For me, it's all about just programming the basic outline of what I want, without obsessing over frame data and telegraphing and all that stuff. If you're going to start fine-tuning moves, you want the context of every other move first to see how they work with one another. Oh, I guess I should say what the attacks are. A projectile that explodes on contact, a dash tackle, and a move where he flies above you and rains projectiles down, followed by a ground pound. Normally with making levels, much of the time comes from the actual level design itself. Fine-tuning the environment so that it's fun for the player to run through takes an incredible amount of time. However, when it comes to a boss battle, the environment is a single room, so the level design aspect doesn't even matter. The time is instead spent making the boss's many attacks. You'd think because it's a single entity that this shit would be a cakewalk. Nah. As I continued creating attacks for this boss, it proved to be a very challenging task. Far more than making a normal level anyway. Regardless, I pushed through. and you'll see the results as the clips continue. This clip has a few more moves. You can now summon a little drone to shoot additional projectiles. It's recommended that you kill it as quickly as possible, because if you don't, it's just going to keep nagging you the whole fight. Seriously, just kill it with a double jump or something. Outside of that, his current moves all get upgraded. His exploding projectile becomes a beam, his dash summons a stream of hitboxes behind him, and his flying attack shoots projectiles more quickly and creates a shockwave from the ground pound. Another thing worth noting is after using a certain amount of attacks, he'll be motionless for a short time. This is your chance to hit him for big damage. If you miss it, you'll have to wait for the next one. Again though, you can hit the bosses whenever you want, so it's not the end of the world if you miss it. Just a useful bonus if you can land it. It's hard to tell without the animation, but when the second phase starts, Osborg whips out his sword, summons his sword, and gains 3 new attacks, each mirroring one of MouseTrap's basic machete moves. He is supposed to be the rival boss in this game after all. A spin attack across the ground, a flipping spin that looks similar to MouseTrap's double jump, and a fast dive. He'll randomly select which of these moves to use 3 times, toss out his sword, then resume his regular attacks. Throughout the rest of the fight, it's random when he'll summon his sword again, so watch out. This clip also shows the boss's DM, or desperation move, where he jumps into the foreground and blasts you with a flurry of projectiles and explosions. If you're not constantly moving, you're going to take a lot of damage a lot quickly. A lot of you saw this clip on Discord and were shitting yourselves thinking, oh fuck my life, this is going to be a nightmare to dodge, isn't it? No, it won't be. It gets tweaked just like everything else. Speaking of tweaks, when I finally added these temporary animations to the boss, adjusting the moves to be more fair and reactable was much easier. Functionally, this is much closer to what the Osborg fight is like in the final version, minus some small adjustments I made along the way. Doesn't he look funny? Doesn't he look like a cute little dummy that you just want to hug? Well, don't. He'll fuck you up. Trust me, I tried. And what's a devlog video without a nice glitch? Now that's what I call a heart attack. Every now and then, bosses will drop a heart to help alleviate your suffering. For the first 2 health bars, a heart will drop after half a bar depletes. For the 3rd health bar, every quarter. Since the boss goes into maximum overdrive on the last bar, dropping more hearts to heal helps balance things out a bit, especially because you're probably going into it with already low health. Now, with the power of animation, I present to you Osborg. Not every animation is here yet, but here's some of them. He shoots, he flies, he dashes, all that fun stuff. As you can see, I leaned hard into the high-octane nature of these boss fights. Also, I accidentally made ASMR with this clip. I left my microphone on when recording, so all you heard was my fan in the background with the sound of delicate stick movements and button presses from my controller. Now, of course, Pizza Tower's boss design was a huge inspiration here, but I actually had my eyes more on games like Hollow Knight, Bayonetta, Kingdom Hearts, and a lot of other games that emphasize dynamic combat. You can especially see that when Osborg whips out his... Alright, I already made that joke. Each of his sword attacks do 2 damage, meaning that attacking recklessly becomes far more punishing if you fuck it up, so caution is recommended while you're still learning the boss. There are also a bunch of other animations here like taunting, changing phases. I even added visuals for some of the projectiles. I really wanted to give Osborg a bunch of attacks to help keep things interesting throughout the fight. Just using the same 2 or 3 attacks the entire time would get old really fast because there wouldn't be much to learn. 2 minutes in and you would have seen everything. Not Osborg though. He's got like, what, 9 different attacks? Some of them having multiple variations, so it's really closer to 13. Osborg is a genuine threat, so I hope you like tough bosses. Unless you're playing on casual mode. What is casual mode, I hear you ask? Don't worry about it, we'll get there soon. And of course, you can't forget about the particle effects. Not much here yet though. Next, excluding sounds, the background, and the finisher sequence, Osborg is just about done. All his moves look flashy, his drones look like cute little beans with bunny ears, and he even has his own face near the health bar now. It took a long time to finally make it to this point, but we're not done yet. You may have heard me just talk about a finisher sequence.
I'm gonna fuck him up. Oh yeah, I didn't make this part yet.
After beating the ever-living fuck out of a boss, you get to beat the whatever remaining fuck out of them. Spam that attack button and go to town. You even get to hit them one last time with a big attack of your choosing, being your spin, jump, or dive attack. I then added some button prompts and particles to add more spectacle. You'll even get special animations if you don't do the sequence, like awkwardly bumping into him or watching him fall over. And let's not forget the two stars here, MouseTrap and Osborg. They're missing their final poses, but everything else is here. One last thing is this versus screen that I added to help hype the player up for the boss. Oh, and for some reason this clip has the pose for the dive finisher. That's pretty much it for Osborg. I work on the remaining stuff in my own time. Let's briefly head into this pinkified Iron Woods. You remember that casual mode I was talking about, right? Well, if you die too many times, the game will ask if you want to turn this mode on. Sure, you can tell it to fuck off and stay on the normal difficulty, but for those who really need the extra help, casual mode will grant you 10 max health as well as 4 jumps in the air. You'll be able to both take more hits as well as have an easier time platforming. You can also access this mode from the main menu. Do note that your time, score, and rank won't be saved if you're playing casual mode. But if that's not something you care about, go crazy. A lot of you debated back and forth on Moussacre's difficulty. Some of you would say the game's too hard, others would say no it's not, get good, so hopefully this fixes that. Speaking of modes, there's one more that you can unlock. I'm not going to say what it is, but if you're daring enough to find it yourself, then I wish you luck. The link to the game is in the description. What's this? Parrying? You heard that right. You all asked for it, but it works a little differently than in Pizza Tower. Rather than being its own button, you need to hit an enemy attack with any of your machete attacks. The window is fairly tight too, only being 8 frames in a 60 frames per second game. It can deflect enemy projectiles too, and depending on which attack you use to parry, the projectile will go in different directions. Spinning sends it in the direction you're facing, double jumping sends it upwards, and diving sends it downwards. Another very notable difference is you need the counterattack badge equipped to be able to perform it. And yes, equipable badges are also a new addition in Demo 3. Here's Blade Meringue. If you press spin while already spinning, you'll throw your machete like a boomerang. It's a good alternative to the gun since it costs no SP to use, but it doesn't travel nearly as far and your movement is limited until the machete returns. The spinning animation that MouseTrap does here is an old one. I didn't like it personally, so I just changed it later. There's also triple jump, which, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you have this equipped on casual mode, it'll bring your 4 jumps up to 5, so that's something. This clip shows the absolute destructive power of counterattack against Osborg. Once you get a good grasp of Osborg's attacks and their timings, you could turn him into your bitch. You thought Royal Guard was cool? Even Dante is shaking his boots before the all-powerful mouse. But no skill comes anywhere close to the godhood of this one. After a year of development, MouseTrap can finally crouch. Incredible. His crouch collision is so low that once he was able to literally slide onto the collectible color. Now, obviously this looks stupid and I fixed it, but the way I fixed it was by making the collision of the color bigger. I kept the crouch hilariously low because I really wanted to function well as a defensive maneuver. If I have to exaggerate its collision to serve this purpose, then so be it. I use it all the time when playing this game myself because it's just that useful. And last but not least, I cleaned up some animations and added a feature where if your score, health, or SP changes, a number will appear showing by how much. Just provides the player with a bit more information. This number also appears to show how much damage you deal to bosses. Of course, you could turn this off in the settings if you don't want it. I never imagined that Demo 3 would take me nearly half a year to complete. I mean, after all, I'm just making one boss and some new features. Never again will I underestimate the complexities of boss design in a 2D platformer. Though, given that I basically made the core framework of Moussacre up to this point, future levels and bosses will be made at a much faster rate. Isn't it funny how both Osborg and MouseTrap had the same beginning and ending to their development in these demos? They are rivals after all. Two sides of the same coin. To everyone who's been following this development journey of Moussacre up to this point, thank you. This project started in August of 2023, right after my first game, Oblivion Eagle, finished development. And considering it's only been about a year, I'm honestly shocked at what I was able to get done in such a short amount of time. And the best part is that you're all experiencing it with me. And I know I keep saying this, but you guys providing feedback for the game, sharing it with your friends and family, all these little things that seem like they don't mean a whole lot, do mean a whole lot. Thank you for sticking with me this far. I'm going to stress this again. October is going to be a huge month for Moussacre. With 3 demos now completed, this is probably going to be one of the more sizable demos during Steam Next Fest, and hopefully it draws in the attention of a lot of new players. And right when Steam Next Fest is over, the Kickstarter is going to come in and steal the show. The campaign begins October 22nd, 2024. So if you want your name in the game's credits and want to get other cool stuff out of it, be sure to support the Kickstarter right as it goes live. Click the link in the description and follow the Kickstarter page to get notified right when it launches. The more funding the game receives, the better it'll be, and the sooner it'll get to all of you. If you want to play the Moussacre demo and join the Discord server, you can also find the links to those in the description as well. Thank you all once again for your never-ending passion and excitement for Moussacre. The next step now is to start working on the full game, making all the levels, music, bosses, cutscenes, everything. These 3 demos are just the beginning. Now it's time to get the party really started. The next devlog will be right after I make a bunch of progress on the full game. So if you want to see what that progress is looking like, join the Discord. But that's really everything for the demos. I'm Nick Denoli. I'll catch you guys later. Click the link in the description to follow the Kickstarter page. What the fuck? MouseTrap said, this shit was taking too long. I'm fucking out of here.